It starts with something small, not fear, not pain, but disconnection. You wake up and your fingers don't feel like yours. They move when you tell them to, but there's a delay, a strange distance between the thought and the motion, like someone else is doing it, or like you're watching yourself from somewhere far behind your own eyes. You stare at your palms in the mirror. The skin is the same, the lines, the shape, but it doesn't feel right. Something is wrong with the way they bend. Too slow, too long, too thin. You blink once and swear you saw claws instead of nails. You shake your head. Try to breathe. Try to come back. But your body is further away than it should be. And your mind is somewhere deeper, somewhere darker. You hear it again that night. Not outside, but inside. A growl. Low. Wet. Hungry. It doesn't sound human, but it also doesn't sound foreign. It sounds like it belongs, like it was always there, just waiting, just patient. You wake up with dirt under your nails, scratches on your sheets, your throat is dry, and your jaw aches, like it's been clenched for hours. You don't remember dreaming, but your mouth tastes like blood. You look in the mirror again, but this time you don't see a stranger. You see a shape behind the glass. That is you, and not you. At the same time, your skin is too tight. Your mouth feels wrong. You run your tongue across your teeth and swear they've grown. You tell yourself it's stress, insomnia, maybe psychosis. You Google things like derealization and body dysmorphia, but none of them describe the feeling in your chest. That primal ache for something older and more honest than language. You don't want to hurt anyone, but something inside you does. Not out of rage, not out of hate, but instinct, a deep, clean, unthinking need. You try to explain it to your therapist. She says trauma lives in the body. She says you're disassociating. She says it's symbolic, but it doesn't feel symbolic when your jaw cracks at night, when your spine tightens in the dark, like it's remembering another shape. You stop going out. You stop speaking. Not because you can't, but because speech feels like a language meant for something else. Something soft, something polite, and you've lost that part of yourself. Or maybe you never had it. There's a moment around 3 a.m. when your hands look like paws. Not because they've changed, but because your mind has. And that's the part that terrifies you the most. Not that you're losing control, but that you never really had it. That this creature inside you that has just been waiting for permission to return. And the truth is, it doesn't feel like a curse. It feels like freedom. Like you're finally becoming what you were too ashamed to admit you already were. Not a monster, not a beast, just something true. Something that doesn't care how it looks. Something that doesn't apologize for its hunger. Something that doesn't need a name. You lie in bed, breathing slowly, listening to your own heartbeat change shape, and you whisper to yourself, not out of fear, but out of knowing this is not psychosis. You stop turning on the lights, not because you're afraid of the dark, but because the dark is the only place where your shape feels right. In the light, everything's too sharp, too human, too exposed. You used to check your reflection every morning. Now you check it every hour. Not out of vanity, but out of surveillance. Because something is shifting. Not overnight. Not suddenly. But slowly, like bones realigning beneath skin that doesn't want to stretch anymore. You look into your eyes and see it. The stillness. The stare. That strange, heavy calm that animals have right before they strike. You try to move like you used to speak with your hands, to gesture, to smile, but your face doesn't follow the same rules anymore. It watches. It waits. It doesn't blink unless it has to. And when it does, it feels like an accident, like an instinct trying to remember how to be human. You eat differently. You chew slower, or sometimes not at all. You forget you have utensils. You forget you have manners. Food becomes scent, becomes texture, becomes the thing you need to survive. Without understanding why, your mouth stays open longer than it should. Your breathing is deeper. Sometimes you growl, not loud, not deliberate, just under your breath, like something in your chest is learning how to speak without using words. People around you start noticing. They ask if you're okay, if you've been sleeping, if something's happened. You tell them you're fine, but your voice is too low, too slow, and sometimes you forget the words halfway through. You catch a reflection in a window one night, and for half a second, you don't recognize yourself. Not because you look different, but because you look honest, as if the mask of identity you wore for so long has finally fallen off, and what's left is something older. You remember reading once about clinical lycanthropy, a delusion, a disorder, a belief that you're turning into an animal. Wolves, dogs, hyenas, sometimes snakes, sometimes bears. It was described as rare, as psychotic, as tragic, but they never talked about the relief. They never mentioned the part where you stop trying to perform a version of yourself that was never real. They never warned you that once the transformation starts, it feels more like coming home than breaking down. You feel your shoulders hunch when you walk. Your fingers curl. You no longer sit. You crouch. You listen with the back of your neck. You smell things people don't notice. You hear whispers in the silence that sound like breath. Your world becomes instinct. And instinct doesn't ask for permission. It just acts. But the scariest part is not what's changing. It's what you're starting to prefer. You no longer want to be seen. You want to watch from the shadows, from the edges, from that space between human and animal where no one has a name. You stop blinking because blinking is human, and you've moved past that now. And as you stare at yourself, hour after hour, the face in the mirror stares back, unblinking, unapologetic, and waiting for you to admit what you already know. You were never supposed to stay human forever. This is recognition. It's not a memory. It's older than that. Not something you can describe, but something your muscles know. Your bones, the skin behind your ears, the weight of your breath at night. It wakes you before dawn. Every time, before alarm clocks, before the sun, before thought. And you rise, not because you choose to, but because something inside you has already decided. You move through the house on all fours, not crawling, hunting. There's no one there. But that's not the point. The point is that your body's awake in a way it never used to be. Your spine bends differently now. Not broken, but changed, rewired, repurposed, like it remembered a shape it once held, long before it learned to walk upright. You sit in the corner of your room, knees pressed to your chest, eyes glowing from inside. You haven't spoken in days, not because you can't, but because the words feel false, flat, thin, designed for a world that no longer makes sense to you. People think language is the last thing to go, but it isn't. The first thing to go is the sense of being someone, of being located inside your body, of being the voice that narrates your thoughts. And when that collapses, what's left is not insanity. What's left is instinct, the old kind, the kind that doesn't care about logic or civility or identity. You try to explain it once to someone you trusted, You say, "It's like my body is remembering something I was never told." They smile, nod, say it sounds poetic, but it's not poetry. It's survival. It's the terrifying realization that evolution is not a one-way road, that maybe you're not becoming something else. Maybe you're returning back to a place in your blood where pain didn't need explanation, where hunger didn't need shame, where your skin didn't have to carry the burden of culture or gender or correctness. And the more you try to resist it, the louder it gets. That pulse in your throat, that pressure behind your eyes, that scratching inside your skull, like claws behind a door. You wake up with mud on your legs, bark under your nails. You can't remember leaving the house, but your feet are bleeding and your teeth feel loose, like they've grown and retracted over and over in your sleep. You no longer ask what's real because reality doesn't matter when your body has chosen a different truth. One night, you stand under the moon, barefoot, naked, silent, and you feel it. That thing inside you, the one that doesn't care what people say, the one that doesn't fear diagnosis or exile, the one that knows the shape of your shoulder blades, was meant for something faster, stronger, more ancient than this. The transformation doesn't happen in a burst. No full moon, no cinematic scream, just slow forgetting of speech, of shame, of self, until all that remains is a rhythm, a breath, a need, a presence that belongs entirely to now. And the strangest part is, you're not afraid anymore. You're calm, because deep down, you understand your mind may lie, but your body never forgets who you really are.